Hey everybody, welcome back to another Judgment commentary of Otorimonogatari, but today we're going to be checking out the second episode, the second part of the Nadeko Medusa arc. But last time, on episode 1, there's a lot to unpack about it. It was pretty, well, full of detail. For starters, it began with Nadeko having just full-on become a Medusa with this weird snake thing whispering into her ear, telling her stuff, and Araragi and Shinobu facing her down, getting ready to straight up execute her. Apparently she's just gone complete villain, and she is a grave threat to the point where they need to just take her out remorselessly. But they fail. Badly, horribly. Shinobu just gets smacked away like she's nothing, and Araragi takes a snake spear right through the heart, explodes, and then, yeah, he did. Because his healing factor isn't activated, thanks to some snake venom. So, what a way to begin, with a grave perspective of what could very well be the future here. I don't know how he would walk away from that, if that's actually what's going to end up happening, but we'll see. And there's some important details about Nadeko herself and her perspective, because we're seeing this from her point of view now, and as has happened with other characters when we change point of view, there's some differences. Like, for starters, unlike Araragi, who, you know, when he thinks of other people who are around him that he doesn't care about, he just perceives them as not existing, just straight up. That's why when he's walking around the city and stuff, there's just nobody there. It's because it's not like the city's just empty, it's because the people who are there don't matter to him. But when Nadeko looks at other people, it's not like they don't exist, they're just vague, semblances of people just covered in, rainbow rings and stuff. She knows that they're there, but she doesn't care enough to really remember details about them. Although she does care enough to notice their gaze fixated on her. And of course, we had another encounter with good old Ogi. She decided to pop in and do an epic little bike flip over her to prevent her from getting, well, run down. And she had some very, very interesting things to say. She pointed out something that even I took notice of back in Bake, and it's that Nadeko was a rare case. She was someone who was affected by a curse, yet she was not a victim of anything bad happening to her beforehand, and she didn't do anything bad to even incite it necessarily. It just sorta happened to her for some, unimportant thing, like spurning a dude's advances. Or so we think. That's how Nadeko saw it, and it's how Araragi saw it, but it may not necessarily be accurate. Ogi put a seed of doubt that it might not necessarily be what went down. Because we know that Araragi isn't always necessarily the most reliable narrator. Sometimes he can get some details incorrect, especially involving stuff that he wasn't around for. And he wasn't there when Nadeko was cursed, he just heard her side of the story, so maybe there's a little more to this that we don't know. And the weird thing is that her encounter with Ogi, she said it felt like it lasted a really long time, like more time had passed than she had realized, and not sure what that could imply, but it likely means there's something that happened in between there that we didn't see in a skipped chapters-esque fashion. Similar to what happened in Nekomonogatari White. But besides all those important little details, what's important to the plot is that Nadeko keeps seeing hallucinations of white snakes, pestering her, jump scaring her at random points. So she tried to call Araragi about it, but apparently he is a little unavailable at this moment, but he did set a date for him to come in and help her out. But Nadeko seems a little impatient with that, and she was called to the shrine where she, pinned a bunch of dead snakes to the tree. And there, she met one big ol' snake who was mad at her for doing that, for killing his comrades, and said that she must atone for that sin. And she is just insanely willing to do so. She was not hesitant, she did not resist this giant snake telling her she must pay for what she's done. She just went with it. Pretty crazy beginning to this arc, if I do say so myself, but now, let's just see how this goes for part 2. What do I even talk about with this one? Well, for starters, her relationship with this snake guy is Weird. The guy is being directly upfront about his manipulation. He's like saying, hey, I'm not forcing you to do this. I'm just playing up on your guilt. He just said it. Just straight out. And she's still doing it. I guess she just feels that guilty about, cutting up the snakes and messing with a god who currently owes his existence as a spirit to Shinobu, I guess. Her messing around with those bad energies for trivial things. Well, that explains why he didn't appear sooner, more closely to when this all happened, because he's only just, regained this existence because of Shinobu's actions. And hey, all that guy wants is to find his body. He wants to have his physical form back, whatever it may be. Probably not gonna be a good idea here. For all we know, maybe what it's gonna be is that he can't find it. Maybe his body's gone. So he's like, hey, here's what you can do to make it up for me. You can become my physical form. I don't know, probably right up his alley with his more Satan-y ways. But I'm thinking ahead here. Nadeko has an interesting way of going about things. She has said that her usual way of life is to, when she encounters something she doesn't want to deal with, she just sits down, shuts up, and turns her head away until they leave. And then she goes on to say that she doesn't have to worry about the things that she has to do, the stuff that's asked of her, because she's not going to do it. She has no intention of doing it, and she's never actively participated in it yet. So as far as she's concerned, she has no real responsibility towards it. Because, really, she never agreed to do it, right? They're just kind of forcing it on her, expecting her to do it. And she's like, I'm not going to. She's not even going to lead them on into thinking she's going to do it by doing it a little bit. She's just going to ignore it entirely. If I may just jump ahead a bit and talk about Araragi, offering to let her sleep in his bed and all that. And she's like, oh no, I can't just force you out of the bed. And that would be rude. And he's like, well, I guess there'd technically be room for two. And he just gets immediately uppercut to the job by Shinobu. And it's like, you didn't have to do that. Come on. You know Araragi's not gonna do that. He doesn't have the balls to make a move like that on somebody. Let alone someone like her. No chance in hell. He was just kidding. Seriously, he definitely was. And on a semi-related note, the stuff with Araragi this episode is interesting because this isn't the first arc we've had where he wasn't the main character and was more on the side, but it's different from, Nekomonogatari White, because in Nekomonogatari White, he wasn't the main character because he just straight up wasn't, there. He wasn't around. He only showed up in the arc at the very end, but here, he's present. He's, directly involved in things and not just kind of, texting people who are involved with it. Araragi is truly more of a side character in this arc. Just being the one that she's going to for, well, she didn't want to go to him for advice. He kind of forced her to because he went out looking for her after he heard that she had gone out at night, because that's Araragi. But she is actively resisting his attempts at helping, which is pretty rare. Usually when he tries to help people, they don't resist it that much. Not to this extent where she's just actively lying to him, trying to avoid him finding out about the snake problem, because I guess she just doesn't want to worry him again. After he saved her the last time, he got hurt pretty bad. He nearly died, so I guess she just doesn't want him to have to worry about that. But oh, the irony in that, in her doing this, if the opening ends up becoming a reality, you're meeting your destiny on the path you take to avoid it. You can only keep it hidden from him for so long before he finds out, and by the time he does find out, it might just be too late. This has been proving very interesting. I don't know what to make of Nadeko. She seems very unreliable as a narrator. Her decision making is suspect to me. she's just going along with all this snake nonsense. She feels that bad? By just pinning some snakes to a tree here? Getting lectured about it? I mean, to the point she's gonna lie to Araragi? She seems complicated. Definitely a complex character here. And I was going to say it's interesting that they're expanding upon her story before going and expanding upon Saruga's, but I forgot that the arc that was supposed to expand upon Saruga's was supposed to be before this, but then they made it later, so that observation is null. Man, it's almost painful to just sit here and watch this, knowing just how south it can go down, and we're seeing the groundwork being set up for it. It's just... Nadeko, please, do something that makes sense. Ah, well, anyway, I guess I should just call it here for now, guys, but thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like and a comment if you enjoyed. Subscribe as well, that would be great. But next time, episode 3, with the part 3 of this arc, the penultimate chapter. Let's see if she can get any closer to finding that vessel. Something tells me she probably won't. This guy seems to suck at finding it. He said, don't worry, I'll vibrate when we get close. Whoops, nope, that was a false alarm. Turns out my spiritual energies are scattered about. Don't really trust most of what this guy's saying here. He can't even remember what his own vessel looks like. He can't remember any details about it, period. They could walk clean past it and he probably wouldn't even know. If it even exists. Whatever. We'll see. We'll see. So, can't wait to find out more about Nadeko's story here. Honestly, it does seem to be setting up a lot of nuance, at least with her character. Going to be quite interesting to see it pan out. She's probably going to get fleshed out in a way that exposes more of her flaws, like Hanekawa, where, you know, there didn't seem to be too much wrong with them, and then once they got their arc in the second season, just, ah well. But enough of that. That's it for now. Till we meet again, I will see you guys later.